Hi, I'm back. So a little bit of a different video format today because this morning it's raining, so I can't get out on a walk yet, but I don't want to just sit around and waste time. I thought after the video yesterday, talking about the amount of information you get, I thought it would be important to do a little bit more research on metformin and explain that in a video, because I think, like me, a lot of you at the doctor's surgery were given a prescription and sent on your jolly way. So today I want to go a little bit more in depth into metformin, what it is, what it does, and what's the alternative. At least what was the alternative for me. Metformin is one of the most commonly used diabetic medications in the world, with over 200 million people taking it today. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that metformin has quite a long history. It comes from the plant called French lilac, which was used in Europe back in the day traditionally as medicine. Modern medical use began in the 1950s. And over time, metformin became the most widely and trusted medication to treat diabetes type 2. It's recognized on the World Health Organization's essential medication list and is, for the most part, like me, the first medication that's given to you once you're diagnosed with diabetes. So metformin isn't a new medication. It's been around a long time and it's very well established. So to understand metformin, we first need to understand what's going wrong in type 2 diabetes. Normally when we eat, the food gets broken down into glucose, which is the sugar in your bloodstream. The body then releases insulin to try and help move that sugar into the blood cells where it can be used as energy. But with type 2 diabetes, the problem is insulin resistance. And that means that the cells stop responding to insulin signals. So that means even though insulin is being produced, the sugar isn't getting into the cells where it's needed to be expended as energy. Instead, glucose starts building up in the bloodstream. And at first, your pancreas tries to create more insulin to compensate and keep up. But at some point, it just can't. And that is the root problem that metformin is trying to help with. Metformin works in three ways. The first, and most importantly, is the liver. Your liver naturally releases glucose between meals. But with diabetes type 2, this production can become too high, and metformin is there to try and turn that production back down. The second is in your muscles. It improves insulin sensitivity so that your muscles can effectively take in that glucose and use it as energy. And the third and last one is your gut. Metformin slows down the absorption of sugar within your system. So when you put these three things together, metformin is reducing your blood sugar from different angles. And importantly, it doesn't lower your blood sugar too low, too dangerously low. Now, another thing you hear a lot about when talking about diabetes is the HbA1c, which sounds technical, but it really isn't. HbA1c measures glycate hemoglobin, which is basically the sugar that attaches itself to red blood cells. Because blood cells live for about 2 to 3 months, this gives you a good picture of what your blood cells are doing during that time and your sugar levels. So it's not just telling you what your blood sugar is doing today, it gives you a little bit of a bigger picture. In the UK, an HbA1c level of 42 or under is considered normal. Between 42 and 47 is considered pre-diabetic, and 48 and above is considered diabetic. That's why your HbA1c level is very important, because it helps track whether things are going in the right direction. Now, metformin can be very, very helpful, but there are a few important things that aren't always clearly told. The first is vitamin B12. Now, long use of metformin can reduce your body's capability to absorb vitamin B12. So if you've been using metformin for a while and you start to feel weak, tired, you get tingling sensations in your hands or your feet, then it's worth getting that checked out. Now, metformin is usually cleared out of the body by the kidney, so that can impact kidney function. So the doctors usually regularly check your kidney function to make sure that metformin is still a safe drug for you to use. If your kidney function drops too much, then either a reduction in your metformin prescription or you might need to come off it completely. So all in all, metformin is useful, but it does need monitoring. Now this is where things get interesting. One of the most important studies done in this area was the diabetes prevention program. This study had two approaches. The first group had the standard metformin treatment. The other group focused on an intensive lifestyle change, so diet and around 150 minutes of exercise per week. And the big question was, which of these two approaches had the biggest impact? Was it the medication or the lifestyle change? And the answer was clear. Metformin reduced the risk by 31%. Now, that's meaningful and it shows that the medication does work. But the lifestyle change reduced the risk by 58%. So lifestyle was nearly twice as effective as metformin. Now that's a huge point. And that just for me is one of the biggest takeaways from the research that I've done on this. And hopefully it's shown that what I'm doing so far is going in the right direction. So radically changing my diet, radically changing the exercise that I'm doing. So pretty much from going from 0 to trying to do around 15 to 17,000 steps a day and drinking a lot more fluids. So hopefully on the 27th of April, when I get my next blood test done, those results will, have a good impact. Now, metformin still matters, but a lifestyle change has a much bigger impact. And like I said in the video from yesterday, I see metformin as a prison sentence. I don't want to be taking medication for the rest of my life. And as stated in the video as well, 1 out of 2 people who are prescribed metformin will end up on insulin. And that is, again, something I do not want to happen to me. Now, this means that medication isn't the solution on its own. And hopefully that a lifestyle change can be the solution on its own. And at some point you can eradicate the requirement for metformin. And that's what I'm hoping to achieve. Now this slide shows you one of the reasons why movement is so powerful. When your muscles contract, they can literally pull glucose out of your bloodstream and use it for energy. In other words, using your muscles is just another way to eradicate glucose out of your bloodstream. And the key point here is that you can do this without needing insulin. So even a simple bit of movement can help you manage glucose more efficiently. And that's why exercise isn't just about burning calories. It directly helps with blood sugar control. And this leads into one of the most practical habits that you can use. Now, you don't need to run marathons and you don't need some fancy fitness plan. Even a short 10 to 15 minute walk after a meal makes a massive difference. That post-meal walk can help flatten the glucose spike because your muscles are pulling glucose out of your bloodstream. Now, this is simple and realistic, and this is, one thing that most people can start doing immediately. And that's why I'm wondering, why do we not get this information when we get our diagnosis? So at least I didn't get it. Maybe you did. And if you did, please let me know in the comments. So the doctors aren't just saying, here's a tablet and off you go, but here's a tablet and a habit that can really impact your life. So here's the bottom line. Metformin can help you provide a baseline of support. It helps reduce the background glucose production, improves insulin sensitivity, and slows glucose absorption down. But daily movement and a lifestyle change can push the results much, much further. The best approach is not thinking about it as medication or lifestyle, but it's understanding how they work together. Medication gives support, lifestyle builds momentum. And when you combine the two, you're setting yourself up for the best chance of improving your blood sugar and protecting your long-term health. Now, that's what I'm trying to achieve with a little bit of a twist. I want to get off metformin. So I am choosing to do an 8-week fairly radical diet to lose body weight and to reduce my blood sugar, but then also creating that lifestyle change where I'm introducing carbs back into my diet, but in a mindful way, and making sure that I'm eating as healthy as possible and balancing, the type of food that I'm putting inside myself. Dr. Ron Taylor said that diabetes really should be called food poisoning. And that's just because too much of anything is bad for you. If you drink too much water, you can die. If you eat too many apple pips, which have cyanide in them, that could cause a problem. But if you eat an apple a day, you're not going to die from that. So that's the sort of approach I'm taking. Radically get my blood sugars under control and then introduce a balanced diet to make sure that I'm keeping it in check. And also setting myself up for a longer, healthier life. So if you've been prescribed metformin and never really understood what it was doing, I hope this video has made it a little bit clearer. It's a helpful tool, but it works best in a bigger picture, combining exercise and diet and building habits that actually support your health. And if you did find this interesting or useful or of any value, please do consider subscribing, give the video a like, and put a comment down below. That really does help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.